Hey, how are you doing, Granny?
Yeah, you know who it is, Rustin. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How is everything in your world?
Oh, man, everything's going good. We're out here on the road with Texas Hippie.
I was going to say, last night was the first night of the Year of the Bull Tour with THC, Kobra, and the Lotus in Salt Lake. How'd everything go?
Oh, man, it was a great show. It was packed. Good. Packed to the gills, and we had, it sounded killer. Crushing would be a good word.
Nice. So good crowd response the first night. There's always those technical difficulties the first night, it seems.
Yeah, a few bugs to work out when we got here. I mean, you got 3 bands, actually 4, and then they had a local. So, yeah, you got 5 bands. And, we got it figured out, though. Went nice and smooth once we got up there.
I sort of understand that the Granny Four Barrel, the whole thing is based loosely around Karen Black's Marion Rolfe character in the 1976 horror film Burnt Offerings. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I can relate to that kind of a character, and I always said to myself, imagine if some fucked up old lady fronted a metal band. How cool would that be? And, Granny's just, she's kind of like, the whole idea is she's like the surrogate metal granny to all the rock and roll children. And, it's like the metal granny you always wished you had. And, horror inspired, because Granny's a product of the 70s. Even though I was born in 1869, I don't know how the numbers crunch together, but, that's what it's about. It's just got that vibe to it, and it works. And we're having a blast with it. It's serious and fucked up at the same time.
Absolutely. I was going to say, there's a lot of that shock and theatrical rock ethos to the band. And I assume you draw some influence from the old school artists like you mentioned, like Alice Cooper and your fellow New Yorkers in Kiss.
No, you know it. You know it, Rustin. All inspirational. And you know what? I say it every time when I do an interview, and I'm going to keep saying it. The last time I checked, this was the entertainment industry. Trying to do something, fun and exciting. You don't want to go watch a band in street clothes staring at their shoes. Give the people something.
It has gotten pretty homogenized, hasn't it?
Exactly.
So now you guys have released 2 videos so far. Let's talk about the newest one first, She Likes Guns, because, porn stars and rock and roll have always gone so well together.
Peanut butter and jelly, I know.
So how did you get Stormy Daniels involved in that?
All right, so last year, it was in May that I had all right, now let me back up even more. So we're on Jesse James Dupree's label, Mighty Loud Records.
Right.
All right, now we got a full-length album produced by Jeff Tomei, legendary Jeff Tomei, Jerry Cantrell, Smashing Pumpkins, Matchbox 20. So we got this kick-ass producer, and we got this full-length album, and we're getting ready last year to roll out some singles. And Jesse and I decided, She Likes Guns. That's pretty fucking cool. We like it. So let's go do a video. So we went ahead, and he said, hey, my friend Stormy, she does rock videos. Now, this was last year before all this blew up. And we said, all right, well, that sounds good. So we connected, and Stormy and I hit it off. We did a video treatment, and we did the video. All right, everything's cool. But then we got a few issues with radio. Well, the subjects, nobody saw the video yet. This is about the song.
Right.
And they was like, well, it's kind of touchy, guns, it's controversial. Maybe you could put out Freak Flag instead. So, we love all the songs, and Freak Flag is totally cool. So we said, all right, we'll just shelve it. And we'll wait and figure out, what to do next. Well, 5 months later, after Freak Flag did its thing on radio, got all the way up to number 26 on Active Rock Billboard. So after about 5 months of that, it run its course, and we're looking for another song. And I said, hey, boys, did you check the news lately? We got a video sitting here for 10 months, and we got this song, and I think, if you had to make an educated decision in marketing and say, well, should you release a video when your director is in the news or when they're not in the news? we opted to do When She's in the News. So here it is now. We put it out, and now we decided, you know what? Certain radio's going to play it, and those ones that like it, they're going to get behind it. And the ones that don't, fuck them. That's all right. You don't have to play it. So that's where we're at, Rustin.
Yeah. And obviously, as you mentioned, Stormy in the news quite a bit for her guns, and and of course, guns have been quite a bit lately too. So it was
exactly.
It was kind of a calculated risk doing that, but I think it's paid off pretty well. You mentioned Jesse James Dupree a minute ago on his record. How did you hook up with Jesse?
Well, I connected with Jesse through our publicist, Chip Rougier from Chipster PR. And also at the same time, even before Chipster, Granny was, Jesse was aware of Granny via Jesse Capps from Rock Confidential magazine.
Right.
So, because Granny's been around in a few different versions now for a number of years. And, they all said, hey, you know who needs to hear and see this? Jesse James Dupree from Jackal. And once we connected with Jesse, well, here we are now.
Yeah, well, you don't get to be around all these years without somebody looking at Granny, right?
Exactly. It's been a while.
You mentioned it. You released Freak Flag first. That's kind of like the Granny national anthem, isn't it?
I mean, it was a perfect song, right? I mean, it was just timing. We said, you know what, this encompasses it. It encompasses freedom of expression, and that's what we're all about here. We're pushing buttons. I mean, yeah, you got all kinds of things going on with Granny Forebear, so I think Freak Flag summarizes Granny pretty good.
Yeah, and you sort of put out a casting call for all the freaks, all the come out and be who you are, to come be in that video, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we didn't Hollywood it up. We didn't do nothing like that. We just said, come on out and be yourself, and we'll just film it.
And it turned out really good, very entertaining for sure, and I think it was a nice calling card to meet Granny in person, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it was. And for the most part, people seem to relate to Granny. I mean, folks with an imagination and a sense of humor, like yourself and all the people last night at the show, they get it, and we're all having a good time with it. But you know what? For the ones that don't get it, Granny still loves you. You'll come around eventually.
The great thing about rock and roll, aside from the rebellion part of it, was to have fun and let your hair down and let your freak flag fly. I mean, what else is there?
Exactly. I mean, come on. People getting all uptight and shit, all the comments on social media, all the haters. It's like, whatever. I mean, come on, man. If you knew me and my boys, you'd be fucking hanging out with us right now thinking it was cool.
Yep, all the keyboard cowboys, they call them. So now you guys have been... You guys have released the 2 singles so far. I understand the album's coming out this summer?
It is. I mean, right now we're just trying... In fact, Rustin, I'm having a limited edition printed for this run, this tour. So in about maybe 10 days to 2 weeks tops, a nice shipment of full-length CDs is going to meet me on the road somewhere. But then Mighty Loud is going to put that out formally maybe a month later. So it's coming. I mean, it's just sitting there. It's all ready to go.
Has that been a little difficult, sort of sitting on this for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I'm old, so I got patience. I learned patience a long time ago, but it is hard. You want to get it out, want to get it in people's hands. Yeah, I mean, it's worth the wait.
Well, and the first 2 singles, we've heard so far, is that pretty indicative of what the rest of the record's going to sound like? Or can we expect a lot more diversity still to come? Well,
the thing about Granny is she don't like to have constraints. So I think you're going to see some more diversity. But let me just underscore that with, it's always going to be heavy, and it's going to be cool. We ain't doing not that love ballads ain't cool, but I mean, this record rocks hard from the top to the bottom. That's the vibe this time. Granny's coming out of the gate going, check this shit out, kids.
And one of the things I got a kick out of is you got a violin in the band, which at the outset would seem a bit odd, but it seems to work. What do you think that adds to the Granny sound?
Well, I think it adds, I mean, I've always been a big fan of bluegrass. And oddly enough, a lot of metal guitar shredders totally relate to bluegrass pickers because they know how hard it is. So a lot of metalheads do love bluegrass. And I just thought, well, why not fuse that together? I sure love bluegrass, and I sure love heavy metal. And, the thing about the violin is it's melodic, so you can do a lot with it. And my guy, the maestro, he's got a couple of 5-string Steinbergers he plays, and, I mean, he can play some low shit. I mean, if we want to play Black Sabbath, we're playing Black Sabbath on a fiddle through a Marshall stack. So it works.
Nice. Well, I know you guys are in Denver tonight, and I know Granny's probably got to get out of the girdle, get a little afternoon siesta in there before the show tonight. But before we go, I know you're a big horror buff. Besides Burnt Offerings, what are some of your favorite films in that genre?
Well, back in the day, I mean, again, I'm loving them 70s. I like, of course, anything that has to do with Norman Bates, and even the new series that came out a couple of years ago. So Psycho, you remember the whole run of movies back then? Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, It's Alive. I mean, shit like that. There was creepy stuff. Salem's Lot. Those are some of my favorites.
Absolutely. Yeah, my favorite of all time, I think, still has to be the initial Halloween, which was, I think, late 70s there, 77.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget The Exorcist, because, I mean, that was fucked up for the time.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's commonplace now, but imagine seeing that for the first time in the 70s. That was some shocking shit.
Awesome, Granny. Thanks so much. Enjoy the road time out there. We look forward to catching you somewhere on the tour, and we look forward to the album this summer. It's going to be a headbanger.
Thank you so much, Rustin. Appreciate you spinning us.
Absolutely. Take care, my friend.